has been in some peaks as well. Another punch has been coming in off the Pacific will top up those snow levels, I think, we go through this weekend. Some sunshine expected for a time. Banff, Fernie, down towards Jackson Hole, as I mentioned, further south. Across Colorado has been struggling, certainly in California. I think there will be some fresh snowfall here as we go through this weekend, which has to be good news. Over in the east, Stowe, it's had a top off over the last few days, 50 centimetres, and that's good news, and great conditions as well. All of this currently open, and there'll be plenty of sunshine, I think, as we go through this weekend. For Jasper, well, there's plenty of snowfall now on all the slopes, upper and lower. Again, it's good powder stuff, and nearly all of them is open. I think there will be some fresh snowfall for the next few days. In terms of fresh snowfall, quite a mixed bag, as I mentioned, there hasn't been much across California, parts of Colorado really struggling, but other resorts doing pretty well. Pick out your favourite one. So the excellent conditions for Winter Park and indeed Solitude Aspen not being too bad either. That's your update on all things skiing and snowboarding. Information supplied by Ski Club at Great Britain. If you're off skiing this weekend, have a great one. And a very good night.
Fire kills, but you can prevent it. Follow these simple directions. Plan and practice an escape route and make sure everyone knows it. Keep keys to hand, but safe. Make sure all exits are kept clear. The best escape route is the exit that you use all the time. But have a plan B, so you can all escape quickly. Get out, stay out, call 999.
If you keep on winning, you keep on playing. National Lottery, who dares wins? Entering the National Lottery draws. Saturday at 7:50 on BBC One and BBC One HD.
BBC One in the Sign Zone now, and we begin with Country File. Art and culture. It's all there in the long history of Britain's great country estates and the changing fortunes of those who own them. Today, many are looked after by charitable trusts rather than family dynasties, but their role as landowners and custodians of large swathes of our countryside is as important as ever. Here at the Fairfoot Estate in Gloucestershire, I'll be discovering how an unassuming travel agent from the city fell in love with the countryside and went on to create a legacy here that would last for generations. This estate is putting education first, and I'll be going back to the classroom at a school deep in the woods. Who likes marshmallows? With the help of the Country File team, I'll also be delving into the archives to see what makes Britain's great estates tick. From Matt's trip to the gardens of Tatton...
I'll tell you what, I'm not kidding, that's the nicest apple I've ever tasted.
...to Julia's day at the races.
Football's finest, there you go, my love.
Lovely, thank you. Right. And for sheer splendour, there's Adam's visit to one of the grandest estates of them all.
What a stunning view, you must be very proud of it.
Oh, it is, it's wonderful. In fact, I wake up to this view every morning, which is fantastic.
Estate. 4,000 acres of woods, park and farmland on the banks of the River Colne. Lying on the southern edge of the Cotswolds, this is an estate without pomp or ceremony. The stately home which once graced it is long gone, leaving a scattering of buildings cast in the famous local stone. Today it's in the hands of a trust founded by its last owner, Ernest Cook. If you haven't heard of him before, then you will have heard of his grandfather Thomas, as in the travel agent Thomas Cook, where Ernest spent his whole working life in the banking department. So far, so dull. But Ernest had a surprise up his sleeve. When he retired, he sold the family business, making him a fortune. He then began buying up country estates, including this one just after the war. He says, how was it that Ernest Cook came to buy not just one estate, but some estate?
He bought them, and indeed he bought 17. So he rose from owning virtually no land at all to being one of the largest landowners in the country in a very short space of time. And he bought them because he cared passionately about rural England, really, about the communities, about the landscape, which were being sold off and broken up at the time he was in the 40s and early 50s. And
But he was an urbanite, essentially, wasn't he? He lived in London, so why did he care about country living?
he saw that way of life being threatened by the continuing urbanisation, which he could see, obviously, from living in the city,
Yeah.
and wanted to make sure that that way of life did not disappear completely.
But some of this is guesswork, as very little is known for certain about the man himself. Even in the archives of the trust which bears his name, there are just 3 photographs of him, and few clues to how this city-dwelling businessman came to champion the countryside. So this was Ernest Cook?
Yes, I always think it's slightly sad that one of the best known pictures of him is him as a really old man. It's terribly easy to paint a picture of him as being a dry Edwardian bachelor, recluse philanthropist, which he wasn't. But he was so unassuming and so shy that he did not want and didn't write anything down about what he was doing.
For such a huge legacy, it's surprising that there is so little in front of us.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Absolutely extraordinary, and you have to read between lines, but he was about as far as you can get from today's celebrity culture, really.
Yeah. Ernest, it seems, is destined to remain an enigma. At the heart of many estates is the manor house, traditionally home to the lord and his family, not to mention a whole army of staff. But what does running a stately pile involve today? Well, as Dunham Massey in Cheshire opened for the season, Katie was there to find out.
Now, I don't know about you, but I do enjoy a beautifully shot costume drama, giving a snapshot of how life used to be for the upper classes who lived in houses like these and the lower classes who worked for them. A life upstairs and downstairs.
This year marks the 30th anniversary of the house being open to the public, but as the covers come off for a new season, there's change afoot. The National Trust wants the traditions of the past to meet the demands of the future by bringing their houses alive, and that's the responsibility of the staff, the modern downstairs people.
Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Katie. Good to see you.
Yeah, and you too. This looks like something I can help you with.
You certainly can.
Okay, removing the dust covers.
Removing the dust covers ready for a new season.
Excellent.
500,000 visitors a year come to Dunham. So we've got to actually show the house in a completely different way. And I like to think we've radically changed.
In what way?
Well, in those days it was basically come in, look, don't touch, don't get involved.
Yeah.
And nowadays, really, we want to involve and interact with our visitors. Sit on some of our furniture.
Really?
Play the piano upstairs. Go into the kitchen at a weekend. Meet the cook. Go into the dining room. The footman preparing for a great party.
So people coming here can really experience their own kind of slice of a costume drama.
Absolutely. Upstairs, downstairs, lives at Dunham Massey.
Keeping the house in pristine condition whilst throwing open the doors to visitors isn't easy. The devil's in the detail and knowing the boundaries.
So why are there ropes in some of the rooms, partitioning bits off?
Well, sometimes, obviously, it's small areas like this, but other times the carpets may be, 100 years, 150 years old, and those in themselves are fragile. The carpets will disappear.
Over the centuries, just like the houses in our favourite television period dramas, Dunham Massey has witnessed a fair few scandals that would have made even the servants' heads turn. The 7th Earl of Stamford married Catherine Cox, a former bareback circus rider, and the 2nd Earl of Warrington loved his wife so much that he wrote a book anonymously on the desirability of divorce. He just couldn't make this stuff up.
Of course, these upstairs folk are ghosts of the past. Or are they? Memories of the real family live on through the elaborate outfits they left behind.
What a beautiful dress. What are you doing here?
I'm just checking all the fastenings and the seams, making sure it's strong enough to go onto this mannequin.
Who could have worn this?
This dress was worn by Lady Jane Grey in about 1924, and she wore it to a party in London. And she was dressed as her ancestor, Lady Jane Grey, who was the 9 Days Queen.
Now, any house worth its costume drama bonnet needs gardeners and aspirational grounds, and a project to restore the rose garden is establishing a new pecking order.
Sorry, Damien, what have you got in here? Puppies? Kittens?
No, they're chickens.
No.
These are our eco warriors.
Oh, hello. So you're going to let them out?
Yep. Yeah, there's 7 in total.
And what's the idea here?
These are literally going out, clean up all the weed seed and any weeds that come through.
Oh, hello. So you're expecting these few chickens to clear this large area of weeds?
No, we're actually bringing in another 50 extracted chickens.
Okay.
They're going to a battery farm and we're going to liberate them.
These batteries will have to power peck for months if the rose garden is to be restored to its former glory. And the clock's ticking for the grand opening, much too fast.
We don't see the clock mechanism. I need to wind it every week and just check that it hasn't gained time.
Here we go. Oh, is that it? Okay. Oh.
That's fine.
Oh, I was very worried for a minute then.
Well, like the folk that once lived here, today I've seen it all.
Do you know what? After a hard day working on the estate, I feel I could fit right in here. But it can't have been easy in days gone by, and it's certainly not that easy now getting ready for the visitors who are coming in 2 weeks' time. Ooh, excuse me. Come. Your tea, Lady Sanford.
Thank you. That will be all.
Just a few miles away from Dunham Massey is another Great Cheshire estate, Tatton Park. It might be famous for its annual flower show, but it was the fruit and veg keeping Matt busy at harvest time.
I've come to help out in the kitchen garden, a dedication to Edwardian horticulture. It's the lasting legacy of the late Lord Egerton, Tatton's last resident.
It's incredible how much stuff you've got in what is it's quite a small area.
Well, I mean, it's less than an acre. You've got 350 trees in less than an acre, and that was a skill, you know, to get to compact as many different varieties as you could into a small area. You've got about 60 odd in just this small space here we're walking in. Yeah.
And it's the idea to keep them quite contained, because they are quite quick.
They should, yeah, I mean, they're 8-year-old, but they should never get any bigger than this. I mean, the idea is, again, you can get a lot into a small space, but, you know, you've got to think of it as a ladyship coming out, doing a bit of pruning, doing a bit of picking as well, you know, so it's there for them to play around with as well as the gardeners.
Sure.
So it's very much a place of recreation. In its day, there were 2,000 commercially available varieties. We now have about 200. So, you know, one of the reasons we were looking at restoring an orchard this period is to hold on to some of those varieties before they get lost forever. This is a Duchess's favourite here. That's his name.
Isn't that beautiful looking?
Yeah. I mean, that was a really popular Victorian variety. Dates from around 1700. I mean, it was grown for the Duchess of York. Got a great flavour. Strawberry, kind of pear drops flavour. Let's give it a go.
Yeah, let's have a go.
Well, this was, as I say, a really popular Victorian variety.
How about these days? I mean, are they...
No, you just never find stuff like this. You can just imagine a kind of Victorian commuter chomping on his apple.
Oh, nice.
Yeah? Mm.
That's lovely, isn't it? There's all sorts of things going on in there. I'll tell you what, I'm not kidding, that's the nicest apple I've ever tasted.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Oh, man.
Right. I'm going to get one more full up.
Although this garden was designed just 8 years ago, all the trees here were sourced from 1911 catalogues. In fact, everything grown here dates back to that era.
So is this a very kind of traditional plan that you've worked through here for this, with kind of a path going around as a border?
Very much, you know, it's a kind of very standard pattern for the great country houses, you know, the kind of walled orchard and the walled vegetable garden. You know, it has to be kind of a productive garden, yeah, but it also is kind of ornamental, you know. Lord and Lady Egerton will be out here on a Sunday with their guests, you know, viewing all the fruit as they walk down for their Sunday walk before dinner. And it's, you know, it has to provide many functions. It has to be very highly productive, producing stuff all times of the year,
But as I say, you know, highly ornamental as well. You know, such was the kind of Victorian kind of need for beauty.
Tatton's keeping this tradition of the Victorian garden alive. There's a wonderful array of colourful fruit and veg here, and with preparations for the Harvest Festival well underway, we're gathering the pick of the crop to take to the estate's farm.
Ellie, how are you doing? All right?
All right, Matt, how are you?
I'm good. I've got some lovely bits and pieces for
I
you.
know, from the gardens. Yeah, it looks lovely.
So this is where the whole Harvest Festival is going to be taking place?
That's right, we're busy cleaning and starting to set up now.
It's a wonderful rare breeds farm.
We've had Rare Breed Survival Trust approved conservation centre since 2007. So we've got a variety and large number of rare breed animals, including our Clydesdales, a little flock of Leicester Longwood sheep.
Right. and some very springy Angora Adores.
Oh, dear.
My word, hello.
Actually, they're just waiting here, ready for shearing. Do you want to have a go? Yeah.
I've never seen a dog before.
Oh, well, it's much the same as the sheep. What lovely teeth they have.
Yeah, they've got a lot of tummy wool on there.
All the wool from these goats will be used in a traditional spinning demonstration during the festival. These goats are tricky to shear. Unlike sheep, their fleece comes off in bits and pieces.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're certainly the wrinkliest and hairiest thing that I've ever seen.
Doesn't look like he's going to win any prizes.
The animals are also prepared in other ways for the Harvest Festival. Next door, Reverend Andrew Bradley's busy carrying out a blessing.
The animals of the land, we thank you for the part they play in our lives and in this world and in all that you created. And now, Father, we pray you bless them.
Every single animal on the farm gets blessed, another Tatton tradition that stood the test of time.
Matt enjoying the harvest at Tatton. Now those giddy summer months might seem like ages ago, but the chill in the air here in Fairford isn't enough to put off some of its more regular visitors, and they should be arriving any minute now.
Hello! Done a bit of walking already? Yeah. Hello, you're all dressed up for the occasion, for the weather.
25 pupils from a local Gloucestershire school are coming for a morning of outdoor learning. The classroom's certainly very different to my school days, but the story has a more familiar ring.
Then I'm up, and I'll cut, and I'll blow your house down. So I wondered if we could build some houses in the wood. Do you think we could? Yeah!
That's houses for the three little piggies, of course. At this school, though, you can't rely on the stationery cupboard.
The pig's getting squished now. Well, that's true. Should we move the sticks from the pig? Here we go. Where do we put it? Oh, that's far too big. I wonder if that... Oh, my word. I'm surprised you can carry that. Are you strong? Did you know that part?
The Ernest Cook Trust is all about education. 45 schools make these visits to the Fairford estate, some now and then, others every week.
I would love this when I was a kid. We didn't get to do anything like this. Yeah. Do they perform differently in their actual classrooms to out here?
Children are very different when they're outside, without the restriction of those four walls, which is actually not where children are designed to be. They act much more naturally. They actually develop different skills outside. They look after each other more, they're more aware of each other, and their own self-esteem is raised because whatever they do, they can achieve at whatever level they want to do. But children are very happy outside.
And what about today? It's really chilly today. I can see my breath this morning. It certainly feels really bitter. Do you still bring them out in all weathers?
All weathers. The old saying that there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing, is very true.
How much the children are enjoying all this is plain to see, but the teaching here also includes valuable lessons about the countryside.
So the roots go into the ground and they take the water up. So the roots of the tree are really, really important because they're the pieces that take the water into the tree. And what did we say the leaves are going to do? They're going to take in the sun to give the tree energy.
I wonder if it's a good lesson for the little ones.
Well, as part of every lesson that we do, whatever subject we're doing, we always incorporate into that some care of the environment, and hopefully this will lead on to the fact that they'll be interested in the environment and care for it as they grow older. And as part of, looking after their piece of the woodland here, they're going to plant this tree. As the children visit regularly through the year, we'll measure it and see how it's growing and how it's developing and whether it's getting everything that it needs. So it comes into part of their science and nature learning, and as well as looking after the environment. A little bit wonky, but essentially good.
But before things all get too serious, the highlight of the morning is bound to keep the punters happy. Marshmallows around the campfire.
This is a good lesson for me. I'm terrible at making fun. I'm going to take notes.
Are you having a bad day?
Well, I'll be a casual sat here. The best bits that we were waiting for. Who likes marshmallows? Sky Camp, circa 1990 something.
Could come in then.
All in one, down in one. With over 250 acres of woodland here at Fairford, it's the perfect place to witness the changing of the seasons. And when Julia was in search of some autumn colour, she went to another estate, Ashridge in the Chilterns.
The Chilterns may only be a short drive from the bright lights of London, but it feels much further. These hills are covered in dense woodland. There are trees everywhere.
The most famous tree here is the beech, surely one of the nation's favourite. As autumn kicks in, its blaze of amber igniting the canopy, what better time of year to hug a
The Bridgewater Monument on the Ashridge estate provides the perfect view of the canopy.
So Chrissy, marvellous views from up here, and it looks as nature intended, but it's not, is it? No, you're right. It's all man-made, really. It's been planted over many hundreds of years and managed for many hundreds of years by people. And that's what a lot of the woodlands here in the Chilterns are about. Absolutely. By Wycombe, Chesham, Amersham, that's where all the sawmills were. The beech was the popular timber for making furniture. And what qualities does beech have? Why does it make such good furniture? It's very durable and it's perfect for indoor furniture.
By the end of the 18th century, chair making was a thriving industry here. The Chilterns were famous for the Windsor chair, exported all over the world. But as fashion moved on and imports became cheaper, the industry declined.
So the market's changed. Absolutely it has, and in many ways that's our game, because now we manage this estate for conservation and for recreation, and the public get to enjoy the wonders of this beautiful scenery and this wonderful place. As you look around, Julia, you can see how wonderfully tall and straight these trees grow. They've been managed specifically for that, and makes them the perfect crop, really, when they're this straight and unblemished.
But not all beeches grow straight and true.
Now, just round this corner, Julia, we have one of the most beautiful trees on the Ashridge estate. It's a wonderful tree for filming. It's been used in Harry Potter's Goblet of Fire, it's been used in Sleepy Hollow. Oh my word! Look at all its tentacles! Isn't it just fabulous? How old is it? We don't know for definite. The only way we could find out would be to fell it and count the rings.
It's got to be 500, 600, 700, hasn't it? Look at the size.
I mean, yeah, the girth of it. She's so gnarly, isn't she?
She is, and in many ways that's a product of the fact that she's a pollarded tree, which means that it's been cut above head height and allowed to grow, but we don't think the tree's been pollarded for probably 100, 200 years. You can see from the size of the stems that we now have coming out. They're, you know, they're huge. They're like the size of a mature beech tree. And it's amazing that the tree still has the strength to keep the weight of those limbs.
So once again, this is nature and man together that have created this.
Yeah, it is.
The beech tree has been allowed to retire gracefully in these parts. The larch, however, is still very much on active duty, being turned into everything from fence posts to bird boxes. On a small scale, this serves as a reminder of an industry that once dominated the landscape. But humans aren't the only species who shape the trees here. There's another beast doing its fair share of pruning.
The deer go way back at Ashridge. They were farmed here by monks in monastic times, and there's been a deer park in Ashridge all the way through to about 1926, until the fences of that park came down and the deer became wild and then just roamed free.
Now, woodland and deer don't necessarily marry up very happily, do they?
Yeah. Well, as deer increase in numbers, and they are going to do that because we now have 6 species of deer in the UK, and none of their predators exist anymore. They're all extinct. Their numbers will increase. The behaviour of the deer isn't the same as when the predators are in place. So inevitably the wood is affected. And as the deer numbers increase, the habitat starts to become affected, and you can see that at Ashridge very clearly with the browse line, referred to as the browse line. And if you look around any of the areas in the woodland, you can actually see a very clipped vegetation height up to about sort of 5 or 6 feet. Yeah.
Which is,
Exactly.
yeah, deer height.
It's not the staff going around with a hedge trimmer, it's actually the presence of the large numbers of fallow deer.
They're still quite active. What are they doing there? Prancing around? I mean, deer rutting season's over, isn't it?
It is. It's sort of winding up now, really. We have got a larger, yeah, we can see a larger buck there, and he's sort of calming down. He's not making the groaning sounds anymore. But there are actually younger males there that you can see, and they're sort of sparring. They're the males that are about 2 years old, and they're like practicing to become sort of mature bucks and own a stand of their own someday.
While Julia was enchanted by the woods of Ashridge, it was the Lees Court estate in Kent which grabbed me when I visited this summer, all thanks to the fruits of the sea.
The country farm presenter's life isn't always that glamorous. Not usually, anyway. They've had me doing all sorts, from sniffing otter poo.
Well,
They've even had me being chased by a pack of dogs. They're here, I can hear them.
yeah.
Oh God. But today, thankfully, things are altogether different.
Champagne.
Oh, don't mind if I do. You see, it's all about these things.
Oysters?
Maybe later.
Now, between you and me, I'm not particularly fond of them, but I am fascinated by how this stretch of the Swale Estuary in Kent has become an oyster hotspot. Countess Sons, a native New Yorker, married into the British aristocracy and has managed the whole estate for the last 15 years. A formidable job for a formidable lady.
So what we can see here, how much is part of the estate? I can best answer that with a bit of folklore.
Okay.
The story goes, in the old days, they would define the Sons estate on the Swale. Man, always a man, would ride his horse as far as he could and wear spear lance. So I don't know that would work today, but that's a bit of the story.
That's quite a sizable area.
And it must be very unique because the estate owns part of the seabed, and that's the unique part, isn't it? It's usually assumed that the Crown owns all of that. And I think we're perhaps 3 or 4 that are owned privately. I'm from New York.
but the only place that I really feel I belong is on the Lees Court estate. And this is so much part of that now. It's brought a whole other culture and dimension to Lees Court. It's very different from New York. It certainly is, and I don't understand a lot of today's culture or feel I fit into it. But here's where I do feel I fit and belong.
Someone who also belongs here is Bluey Walpole. He's been fishing these waters for 50 years.
Hello, lady son.
Hello, Blue.
He's effectively a tenant farmer here, but the oysters aren't harvested in the conventional way. They're hand-picked, and Bluey and his crew are certainly not short of them.
So where are these oysters then, Bluey?
Well, they're here, there and everywhere, but there's millions of them. We've got 2 or 3 patches up the river here a bit.
And have they always been here then, the oysters?
No, 82 I believe was the first lot that we put in.
And they flourished then, did they?
They've flourished more in the last 15 years. We had lots of problems in the early days just because we had bad pollution problems in the upper reaches of Swale.
Bluey campaigned hard to improve the water quality in this stretch of water. 30 years ago, you'd be hard-pressed to find many oysters at all. He managed to revitalise both native and rock oysters, and it's the rock we're looking for today.
Well, Blue,